everyone, my name is Emma and I'm a senior at Bennington College, and I'm just going to talk a little bit today about my plan and how that eventually evolved into my advanced work, which I've been working on this year, my final year at Bennington. So my plan has always been focused in literature, fiction writing, and playwriting, and I came into Bennington as a freshman knowing I wanted to write, but I didn't really have an understanding of how to get from point A to point B. Like, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to make it happen or what it really meant in the context of my education. So I kind of talked to my advisor about this when I first got to Bennington, and she really encouraged me to push myself um, out of my comfort zone because I was ready to just take like, 7 literature classes and do all reading and writing, read and write all the time. And she kind of encouraged me to take classes that weren't reading and writing, that were things that I didn't have an interest in already or didn't know that I had an interest in. So I was taking a literature class or a couple literature classes, but I was also taking an Italian language class. I was taking a lighting design class for theater, which was really fabulous because that actually sort of introduced me to theater classes, which is how I fell into playwriting. I was taking a political science class. I was taking a history class. So I was kind of all over the place. But I think what was so great about that was that it exposed me to things that I would have never thought to seek out on my own. Like I was reading Italian literature. I was doing all these things that wouldn't have been on my radar if I hadn't sort of taken things that I didn't know about or didn't feel comfortable with immediately. So that was sort of my freshman year. So I think my freshman year was really all about exploring, just taking this wide breadth of classes and sort of like narrowing in on what kind of writing I really wanted to do and what that meant for me. So my sophomore year, I was writing my plan, as everyone was, and I decided to write my plan in experimental fiction because I had taken this fabulous class called Nouveau Roman, which was about like French surrealist writing, which was something I did not know about beforehand. But I was just so intrigued by it. It was stuff that I had never read before. I'd never seen anything like it. So I wrote my plan in experimental fiction because I was like, okay, this is what I want to read. This is what I want to write. This is like what I want to do. So for my sophomore year, I just continued to take classes that were both sort of specific to my plan. So I was taking literature classes, both in sort of like more experimental texts, but also I'd been encouraged by my advisor to take sort of like classes in the canon or classes that focused on more foundational texts. So like Greek mythology or, early 19th century novels, like that sort of stuff. But then I was still also taking sort of my wildcard classes, which were just things like, you read the title of the class and you think that sounds fun or that sounds really interesting. So I was also taking those. So I think my sophomore year was really still about exploring, but much more about experimenting and practicing and just trying things out and seeing if they fit with what I wanted to do or not. So by the time I was rewriting my plan my junior year, I had a much better idea of what it was that I was really interested in. So I sort of discovered in this time, my sophomore and junior year, that I was less interested in experimental literature, although I still am interested in experimental literature. I think it's really fun and fabulous. But I was less interested in that for myself and more interested in just like language as material. So I was really interested in form and structure and sort of how a story is built, how fiction is made, how a piece of writing comes to be, and all the different ways you can do it. So when I rewrote my plan, I wrote my plan much more focused in that. So I was interested in form and structure and style and voice and all of these things that make up literature. So by the time I was proposing my advanced work for my senior year this year, I sort of had a good sense of what I wanted to do, which was write a collection of short stories that was interested in style and voice. So for my advanced work, I've been writing short stories that sort of explore different ways of telling a story. So different styles, different point of views, different voices. I'm sort of just been like Frankensteining all sorts of different authors together to see what happens. Just trying out a bunch of different things. And that's been really fun for me, and I think really rewarding, um, and really meaningful, to sort of like my own relationship with writing. Um, yeah, so I'm almost finished with that, which is kind of exciting. Um, and it's just been a really fun journey to go on. And it's just, I think what's so great is that in advanced work, you have so much freedom, um, to try out different things. So I've really been supported by my professors and my peers, which has been so great. Um, but I've also just had the freedom to make my advanced work really meaningful, for what I plan to do after I graduate, but also something that feels like a true culmination of the work I've done at Bennington. Um, I've also, was able to do two other advanced works, which again is really exciting, um, because people study so many things at Bennington. Um, People are able to do a bunch of different advanced works, or you can just do one, whatever you know want to do. But I was also able, to write a play for my advanced work that sort of worked as a culmination of, the work I've done in theater, and that's going to be read at the end of the semester. And then, I also was able to sort of, combine my interest in music history, um, and, nonfiction, journalistic, and personal essay writing, um, in a, long essay that I wrote about Janis Joplin, who I love. Yeah, so that's sort of my advanced work, and my plan and sort of my time at Bennington. Um, I hope everyone is staying safe out there. Bye.